Burn versus Green-White Company in the middle. Look up at the top matchup, Jody Keith on lands versus Grixis Delver. And Tom Ross, Mono Red Aggro, is playing against Zachary Plott. Plott is playing Mardu Vehicles.
Grixis Delver can have a little bit of a rough go against lands. Deathrite Shaman has made Delver decks, on average, considerably better in the matchup, though.
Yeah, across the board, these are favorable matchups for the team of Keith, Stevens, and Ross.
Get used to hearing that.
Yeah, well, they're playing, so the matchup's going to be, can only get so bad. Turn 1, Rift Bolt suspended by Collazo. Here, take a look. Gonna see our first look here at Todd's deck. Now, the Ramonep Excavator Azusa, part of his deck, while innovative, is actually not going to be his go-to part in this matchup.
Yeah, against Burn, he's really going to want to find some of these Courser of Crewfix, of which he plays 4, these 2 Kitchen Finks, 2 Scavenging Ooze. This stuff is all quite good in this matchup.
Voice of Resurgence on turn 2 from Todd. Manny has to decide where to point Rift Bolts, and you don't really want to have a go at Voice of Resurgence, so how about at Todd? He's at 16.
Yep. Just got to go upstairs again and again and hope it's good enough. Steven's deck just generates so much toughness.
Yeah.
Especially creatures like Voice of Resurgence and Kitchen Finks that just come back.
Right, and this puts pressure on the Burn deck because cards like Goblin Guide, Eidolon of the Great Revel, and Monastery Swift Spear oftentimes don't convert for points of damage.
Right. Yeah, the creatures are looking mighty bad in this matchup.
Boros Charm is fine. Last time we saw Todd play this Green-White Company deck, he had a couple copies of Dromoka's Command, so there's Manny has that going for him. There's none of that this weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot else to like, though.
Yeah, here's Eidolon of the Great Revel from Manny.
That one generally worse on the draw. It'll count for some damage here.
Eidolon, and yeah, here's Courser of Crewfix from Todd, showing another Voice of Resurgence on top as he swings for 2.
And yeah, it looks like a fetch land in hand yet. If Todd's able to find lands off the top of his deck with the Courser, gain life that way, use it as a blocker. That card is just so good against Burn.
Yeah, now Todd did have to take 2 to cast the Courser.
He'll be making that up.
Yeah. Manny, remember, he needs to main phase his Burn if he wants to cast it. He doesn't want to do it on Todd's turn.
Yeah. You do not want to cast spells on your opponent's turn when they control Voice of Resurgence. You will reward them with an XX Elemental token.
1 card left for Manny. It looks like it's a copy of Lightning Helix. In a tough spot. He's running out of cards, and he's not gotten Todd in range yet.
Opponent at 14.
Yeah.
You have an Eidolon to their 4 power and 6 toughness on the battlefield.
Yeah, Todd will get to keep attacking, and on top of that, gaining life with Courser of Crewfix. So Manny just passes. Voice drawn. Land for Todd sends him up to 15. As he collected Company in hand. A great one to cast. There's a hit on top of the deck, though he can't guarantee that, as he has to use the fetch land to cast Company. Todd will actually swing with both creatures.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well on this board here, and that Eidolon is pressuring Manny really more than it is Todd. You know, he is now the aggressor here. He has enough life where he doesn't have to worry about being burned out.
Todd just says go. Rift Bolt will shoot Todd down to 11. First update here in the standard matches, it is actually Zachary Plott on Mardu Vehicles taking game 1 off Tom Ross.
That was a quick one.
Well, it's gonna they're both decks of a similar vein.
Yeah.
They're attacking.
Should all be quick ones on the front table there. And the Mardu Vehicles deck generally a little bit bigger than what Tom brought to the table.
Yeah. Well, in red mirrors, being just a little bit bigger is a great thing.
Yeah, it generally behooves you. Heart of Kiran, really good attacker and a blocker in the matchup. Stuff like Scrap Heap Scrounger is not going to be great, but most of the rest of the deck is.
Yeah, if you can survive to Gideon, it's going to be a good matchup, and you probably can survive to Gideon. We see an end-step collected company from Todd. See if he finds anything. Yeah, Birds of Paradise and Scavenging Ooze. And another Courser of Crewfix. He'll take that.
Second Courser is even harder to beat than first Courser.
Look at all this life gain. Ooze, Courser, Courser. That's, yeah. It's pretty nice. And he will block Eidolon with a Courser. Eidolon is gone. Manny has a Helix to finish off the 2-4, but he just doesn't have enough points of damage.
No. Searing Blaze in hand as well, but just too much he has to deal with now. It's like just going upstairs with Lightning Helix, doing that main phase because of the voice.
I do like that play. You just hope that Todd doesn't top deck lands. Now, the crafty side of things, as you see Todd is going to play Ghost Quarter and go to 11, is that Todd can actually start Ghost Quartering himself if he's really worried about burn.
If he gets desperate, yeah, just go search up a land, gain life off your Courser triggers. Nowhere near that in this game.
Collected company from Todd. He's on a Azusa on top of his deck. This is going to be fun. Kitchen Finks and Azusa. He left up Ghost Quarter. He may play. I guess he doesn't have the Ramanap. He'd found Ramanap Excavator. That was going to be real nice.
Right. It can match up really well with Courser or Crewfix if you find multiple lands on the top of your deck.
Yeah, and Todd's going to Ghost Quarter himself. Land into play, gains 2 more.
Question is, how long can Manny watch this for?
Yeah.
The game's over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, how long does he want to do this?
Another Azusa on top of the deck. Typically, in Modern's history, when you saw Azusa Lost But Seeking, it was in decks that could kill you on turn 2. This is not that kind of deck.
Yeah, I liked that deck. And that'll do it. Todd Stevens, what a show. Did not let it get close at all.
The way that Todd has crafted his main deck, it seems very difficult to lose to burn.
All right, so let's look at some sideboard options. Manny's going to need them. 4 copies of Destructive Revelry, 3 Path to Exile, 2 Relic of Progenitus, 2 Core Firewalker, 2 Stony Silence, and 2 Deflecting Palm.
So if you know that Todd's on 4 Courser and you saw it too, Destructive Revelry is actually a card that you probably just have to play.
Does he play any other targets?
I don't think so. You can't beat Courser.
I agree with you. That's the gross part.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a necessary one.
And then you bring in Path to Exile because that tags Courser and other stuff.
Yeah, Path is fine.
It's not great
it's
either.
It's not great because you got to keep your burn density high. I guess all the creatures can leave. They just stink. Maybe Goblin Guide because you're on the play. You can keep him and just nothing else.
Sure.
It's a tough matchup here.
You can punch through with Swift Spear if you can correctly answer creatures. It's a really rough matchup. You want to bring in Destructive Revelry and draw exactly as many copies as Todd draws Courser.
Right.
Between 0 and 4. I can't imagine you're bringing all 4. It's like 1 or 2 of that card.
All right. Looking over at Todd's sideboard, I don't assume he'll have much here. His main deck's great. Engineer Explosive, Surgical Extraction, Stony Silence, Whisperwood Elemental, Kasali Pride Mage, Linvala, Keeper of Silence, that's the 4-mana Linvala, Kataki, War's Wage, Sigarda, Host of Herons, Aven Mind Sensor, the 3rd Ramanap Excavator, a Blessed Alliance, and a Reclamation Sage.
Blessed Alliance is great.
Yeah.
Gain 4 life, wing shards your opponent. That one's really nice. You might bring in the other Ramunap Excavator over one of your more lousy creatures because it's a 2/3 and it does some blocking, but mostly just looking at Blessed Alliance.
Yeah, it might actually, in this matchup, be the lousy creature.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true enough. You can bring in Kasali Pride Mage as well because a 2/2 trades with most stuff and can destroy Eidolon with a Great Revel.
Yeah. I'm ready for a second game. Jody Keith and Mike Warren still in game 1. You see there. So StarCityGames.com, we have Star City Games Game Night. This is exclusive pins and tokens given away as prizes at tournaments all around the country. So you can earn these just by playing in a local store, as long as that store is signed up for game night. This month we are giving away the Goose of St. Traft. It's a 4/4 flying angel, also a bird token. Next month we'll be giving away the Puggernaut in August. And in July we'll be giving away the Smell Snare, which of course means these dogs are snaring away the skunk, and you can sign up in time for that one as if you're a store owner. So you can sign up and find a location near you at starcitygames.com/game night.
Really like the effect of just the fact that you can see the odor. That's gotta smell terrible.
Manny will be back on the play here for game number 2, or rather he will be the first time be on the play. It was on the draw for the first one.
It's nice being on the play, but the way Todd's configured his deck, you're really just kind of hoping that Todd mulligans a lot. It's not pretty, but if you can have a start with turn 1 Swiftspear or Goblin Guide, follow it up with some Searing Blazes, that can convert to something. You're still in trouble against turn 3 Courser of Kruphix.
Yeah. What I would look at, I think, from the burn side, generally in creature matchups, they are counting on cards like Searing Blaze and Searing Blood to help them curve out with burn while mitigating damage. A concern I have here is that Todd doesn't have that many good targets for these cards.
Yeah, when you have sticky creatures like Kitchen Finks, Voice of Resurgence, when you have 4 toughness creatures in Courser Kruphix, and typically 4 or more toughness creatures in Knight of the Reliquary, it's really hard to convert these cards. The idea is not just that they deal damage, but they also kill a creature and clear the way for your attackers. And they just don't line up well here.
Over in Standard, Tom Ross evens things up. Mono red aggro will send him to game number 3.
Play draw just has to be important in that matchup.
Yeah, it's a red mirror, I would think so. One of the more difficult parts is that when you saw Tom Ross's list earlier, a lot of times in a red mirror you try to go a little bit bigger.
Yep.
I don't know that Tom can take that attack in that matchup.
Right, and that's where being on the draw is really unfortunate for him.
Yeah. So game 2 here, though. Todd Stevens versus Manny Collazo. Todd's deck showing a lot of strength against burn. In blockers, difficult to remove creatures, and then a lot of life gain.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like Eidolons have stayed in for Manny. So some number of creatures. His first play is going to be Eidolon of the Great Revel.
Taking 2 damage off of a Stomping Ground to cast it.
And that part is fine. I'm not that concerned about Manny's life total in this matchup.
I think given the density of creatures in Todd's deck, you should be.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not zero amount of concerned.
He's not going to kill him on the stack. You know, Todd's not going to cast a burn spell.
Yeah.
But he's going to end up with more creatures inevitably.
And here's what we saw last game. Todd has a turn 2 Voice of Resurgence. So once again, Eidolon of the Great Revel as a 2/2 isn't worth any damage. All of its damage is coming from that trigger. Yeah, I guess if Manny's plan is to dump his entire hand into Eidolon and his entire hand costs 1 and 2, then I'm worried.
Yeah, and it looks like his third land here is Sacred Foundry as well.
He plays like something like Sacred Foundry, Skullcrack, Lava Spike. That, okay.
Yeah, even if he had Searing Blaze here, which is like his best card in this kind of matchup, because it's Voice Resurgence, he doesn't even really get to punch through meaningfully.
Yeah. Well, he'd get to swing this turn, but he'd take a hit on the way back.
Right.
So it goes to 15 for Sacred Foundry. You see Skullcrack, Boros Charm, Lightning Bolt, Lava Spike.
These are good cards.
Sure. The Eidolon's not helping him any. So here's Lava Spike. Todd goes to 14. I assume he just needs to dump these cards out at sorcery speed. Can't do it at instant speed because of voice.
Yeah, Skullcrack looking real bad here. Part of that is that Todd, with the 4 coursers, he has a lot of just life gain that is in slow increments.
Yeah, Skullcracking a courser isn't that good of a swing.
Yep. The fact that he just can't leave it up without giving Todd an Elementals token is very unfortunate as well.
Yeah, and you look at Boros Charm, right? Manny's at 11 to Todd's 10.
Yep.
I'm not liking Eidolon in this matchup.
And Manny did all of that damage to himself. Beat himself up with lands and spells. 5 damage off lands, 4 damage off spells.
Ghost Quarter, Courser of Crufix from Todd.
And that's game.
Goes
I suppose
to 8.
Todd is at 8. If Manny has 3 1-mana burn spells, that would stop Todd from being able to cast more spells without making land drops.
Game 1 goes to Jody Keith on lands, defeats Grixis Delver. See Todd consulting with his teammate Jody over there up at the top of the screen.
And never mind, the Courser puts him at 8.
Yeah.
So yeah, double Boros Charm or 3 1-mana spells would do it here. No, he still has Lightning Bolt.
He has Lightning Bolt and Skullcrack.
Yep.
Remember, Manny goes to 5 just casting those.
Yep. Got to figure that the plan is to end step both of those at Todd, make it so that one player is winning the game that turn.
Another Eidolon drawn from Manny. I think these should be in the deck box right now.
Yeah, he's on the play and they look terrible. And they're real bad on the draw. The problem is his sideboard's not very good for this matchup. A Destructive Revelry would be fine. Can destroy Courser.
You know, Todd plays a land. And Manny is going to try to Skullcrack in response. Let's see if Todd's going to Ghost Quarter himself or anything like that. I guess he can do that on Manny's turn.
Yeah, Manny can't kill him here.
Manny goes down to 7 on that spell. I mean, you're reaching this point where Todd can actually attack, which is real gross.
Yep. And...
Okay, correction, Manny is at 9.
Yeah, I don't know if we are waiting on a token here or if Todd just missed the Voice of Resurgence trigger. But Todd has more than enough creatures on the battlefield. This game will be over within this turn cycle here. And he's still left up the Ghost Quarter, and now with the second Courser, he can gain some life on Manny's turn.
You can gain some, but it may not be enough. You see attacks with Courser, Lightning Bolt from Manny. That's going to do it. Todd can't gain life this turn, so we're on to a third game. Manny Collazo does even things up.
Yeah, he really just needed to Ghost Quarter. Needed to Ghost Quarter in response to that land there, or that Skullcrack there, gain some life.
So, third game apiece. There was some hesitation there, so Todd's cards should line up good for this matchup. They felt a little slow, even though, you know, he did end up actually losing that game. Courser of Krufix is a really nice anti-burn card. I don't know, what happened there? It seemed like Todd was going to win.
Yeah, the Skullcrack stopped the life game there. Todd cast that second Courser that put him in burn rage. Part of what was happening is Todd didn't know that Manny's hand was as bad as it was, given that Eidolon being a dead card. Waiting until he could be sure that he could gain a good amount of life might have been the play there. Casting the second Courser did seem a bit ambitious.
Yeah, it's the thing that down the line that would pay dividends, but he just needed to survive this turn, maybe not give free damage.
Right.
I mean, his hand might not give him too many options on that front.
Yeah, well, he had the board covered as far as blocking for that turn.
So just do nothing.
He's
is
only
fine.
losing to burn spells, and taking more damage off of an Eidolon trigger is just another burn spell.
So casting Courser might actually be worse than just
hanging out.
Just doing nothing.
Yep.
I guess he never gained life off that Courser.
Right.
So it was just, it was a burn spell on himself, is how it played out.
Yeah, we're going to a second sideboard game, the third deciding game for this match here. No full results in just yet for the round.
Yeah, actually no full matches finished. Tom Ross and Zachary Plott on game 3 over there in Standard. In the red mirror, they're likely to finish first. Todd and Manny about to start their third game as well. So Star City Games, we also have our invitational qualifiers around the country. These are ways to get yourself to the SCG Tour and to the SCG Invitational. For Season 2, these events start from July through December. For showing up, you get the Karma Carnelian art. That's by Kristen Plesko. This playmat you see here, it's $1,000 in prizes to the top 8. There'll be 2 invitations given out to the Season 2 Invitational in Roanoke. That's December 1st through 3rd. At each of these events, they award points to the SCG Tour to help you earn buys at our opens as well, and exclusive invitational winner tokens and pins. So you can find an IQ near you or register for one at starcitygames.com/IQ.
With the Invitationals all taking place in Roanoke now, the prize pool being doubled, qualifying for them. Really significant, really awesome tournaments. Season 1 just a few short weeks ago. Brian Koval taking it down.
Game 3 for Todd Stevens. He'll start on Noble Hierarch. If you'd watched the first 2 games, you'd forget that Todd's deck actually has 7 mana creatures, 4 Hierarchs and 3 birds. This is his first game that he's seen one.
Yeah, previously his plays on turn 1 was fetch, find a tap, shockland. And this is setting up for a turn 2 Courser of Krufix, which is going to be tough for Manny to beat if Todd has it. Turn 2 Kitchen Finks would also be excellent.
It will be turn 2 Courser of Krufix for Todd. This looks so much better. A turn 2 Courser on the play versus turn 3 Courser on the draw. Very different situations.
Yep.
And this one, it's just going to be hard for Manny to get around. It's a successful blocker for all of Manny's creatures if he has any left. It's going to gain Todd 4 life, at least.
More bad news on Manny's front. He has left in and drawn Eidolon of the Great Revel.
Yeah, that's not... I don't even really want to cast it here.
Right.
Well, because you're going to see if he casts it, Todd will actually race back. He'll let it resolve. He'll attack with Courser, which exalts to a 3/5.
Yep.
And I'll just say, go. Let's gain a life. He'll go to 20 of his land and then just pass the turn. I don't know that Manny wins that race.
Pretty sure he doesn't.
But Courser's just problems anyway. You see,
Courser just has a card. Yeah. It's really good, and it's lining up particularly well.
Manny sends a lightning bolt at Todd's face on end step, down to 17. he had that turn 1, it should have gone at Noble Hierarch. Probably didn't.
I mean, in this matchup, he just needs to win quickly. Maybe bolting the Hierarch can enable you to do that.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it doesn't matter. It's just not a good... I get it.
This matchup's so bad. You can't really sugarcoat it.
Yeah, he has a Relic of Progenitus in his hand, it looks like. That's coming out of the board. He might think Todd is on a counters company deck.
Sure.
Or some kind of company combo.
That card can do some work against Kitchen Finks.
Yeah.
Todd's playing Knight of the Reliquary, so you can shrink that. It's not a great card in the matchup. Shut off those Ramunap excavators. Though.
There you go.
It's really not the matchup for that.
Searing Blaze at Noble Hierarch will deal 3 more. Todd's down to 14. And yeah, same credit. I actually really do like the burn, the lightning bolt going straight at Todd. It's not the game plan he wants, but it might work. See Todd up to 15, back down to 14 on a fetch land. And I think we're seeing another Courser of Krufix.
And back up to 15.
And we are.
That's not going to be beatable.
I mean, if one person's playing Lava Spikes and the other person's lands gain 2.
And they just have 2 4s.
Yeah.
Against your 2 2s.
This Courser card's an issue. It's got a...
Man, he's got heart, though. Gonna see if he can cobble something together here.
It's the 3rd Courser that I would have to...
When every land just counters every spell in your deck.
That was what I was thinking of.
That's your breaking point.
That's where I'm done. Ooh, 3rd Courser, yeah. This Lava Spike just feels really bad.
The question is, what's more demoralizing? Is it playing against Courser Krufix or Core Firewalker?
With Core Firewalker, at least you feel like it was about, they tried, right? They said I'm going to beat you.
Right.
And you said, all right, fair enough. With Courser, you just kind of have a feeling of, why is this card a thing? This is dumb. I'm not having fun. Todd's going to swing with the 2 Coursers. He can cast Company. He can cast this Kitchen Finks in his hand. And yeah, here's Kitchen Finks up to 17, down to 15. Up to 17.
And fetch land plus 2 Coursers.
Ooh, that gains you life. And how about once he draws the 3rd Courser? Because he's going to.
And from here out, Todd could do nothing but make land drops and attack, and he would win this game. That was probably true before the Kitchen Finks.
Yeah.
And Manny has a Path to Exile.
Okay.
He's facing down 3 creatures. All of them demanding the path. If he could overload it.
I don't want to path the Kitchen Finks because it puts a land into play. That's not good.
No.
And I don't path my own Eidolon. I don't know.
Then you could attack with your Eidolon, which will break even with the life gain off of the Coursers on that path, and you will take 2 damage.
Yeah. All right, that's the play. Let's path this Kitchen Finks. Is Todd going to get the land? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you don't need 3rd Courser.
Oh, I want 3rd Courser. The need is... No, he'll take the land to go to 19. So that was a lightning helix almost going the wrong way. Back down to 17. It's just... Yeah. Ugh. Birds of Paradise on top. Todd might get rid of that one.
Yeah, good chance that one gets shuffled away.
Manny's hand is Stomping Grounds, Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, Todd just draws it.
Sure.
Whatever.
go to 19. This is nice. This is a very comfortable game for Todd. So it's going to turn out that Zachary Plott's going to have to win the third game, and Mike Warren's going to have to win both sideboarded games against lands. This is the undefeated bracket, so Keith, Stevens, and Ross looking to lock up day 2 as they will improve to 6-0 with a round win here.
And Manny just has another land in Lightning Bolt. There's no card in his deck that does more than just going 3 or 4 damage upstairs.
Collected Company can find Kitchen Finks and Eternal Witness or Azusa.
But he could go off with Azusa Courser.
If the top of his deck's all lands, it's too fun to not do good.
He gets a couple redraws with those fetch lands.
I don't know if it's right to get Azusa, but I definitely would do it. Eternal Witness and Azusa. Todd passes on Kitchen Finks against Burn, because why not?
Yeah, he's at 19.
Yeah, it's just really hard to lose from here. Kitchen Finks targets something, Manny gets rid of the Relic of Progenitus. Todd is looking for more. Goes to 21.
Gain some life on the fetch land. Yeah, back to his starting life total with 2 courses on the battlefield.
Yeah. See if there's no more lands on top. He can play all of them thanks to Azusa.
Some of them.
Not all, but yeah, I mean.
Good amount.
Manny with the very careful shuffle. Knight of the Reliquary.
Nailed it. Good cuts, Manny.
All right.
Now Todd going to 21. Ugh. This is worse than where things started. Manny can only cast 2 more spells before the third one kills him with his own Eidolon. Todd's gonna shock here, because why not? I think still has Voice of Resurgence in hand that he can cast next turn. And there's Wooded Foothills. Getting gain 2 more life. Get him another look at a land. Another shuffle if he wants it. Find another land. There we go. Crack the Wooded Foothills.
Each of these just continues to gain him more life. There's not really any plays that Manny has here. Should wrap up in about a turn here.
And there's Voice Resurgence. That makes it so Todd just has lethal attack on the following turn. Manny can't cast spells. His life total is just too low. Looks like he just picked up another Relic of Progenitus. Stomping Ground on untap. Manny is just going to kill himself.
Sure. And Boros Charm targeting himself. All right, so Todd Stevens is going to take the first match. Todd points out it's not exactly lethal. You went to -2 because you shocked.
Right. You can't just miss those Eidolon triggers. That's your own effect.
So it's not 0, but I'll accept it. Todd wins 2-1. So it is on Mike Warren and Zachary Plott to win their remaining games. We're going to look over at Standard here. Ross versus Plott. In the thick of a game 3, it looks like they have a large board.
There's a lot happening here.
All right, we're going to... We'll figure out what's happening. We're going to get the life totals. We're getting that from the judge right now.
It's like Tom's making a big attack, and there's a lot of blocks.
Wow. We have Hazaret being blocked by Night Ally. Falconwrath Gorger being blocked by Night Ally. We have, it looks like, a Gorger and a Kenra swinging for 2 unblocked. We have Built to Smash an Aethersphere Harvester. I think trampling it over the Harvester, but Harvester life links. And so does Shambling Vent. So they're going to trade away the cards, and then we're going to see what that meant.
They're not, nobody seems to have died.
Well, if Tom's at 6 here, his things are all tapped.
Well, Tom was one with the Harvester, so he should have gained 6 life.
Okay,
there.
so Tom gains the life. Okay, we'll get an update from the players on what's happening. Zach went to 4 on the attack, Tom went to 6, and Zach Plott gets the game. Okay, a little chaotic there to jump in on the last turn. It looks like Tom swung for a non-lethal win to, he was calling Zach on making the right block.
Yep. Block was made.
All right, so it's going to come down to Legacy, where Jody Keith is playing lands against Mike Warren on Grixis Delver. Players are shuffling for what we believe is Game 3, so they're going to have 14.5 minutes for the third game as we look at this matchup.
In the era of Dark Depths and Thespian Stage, lands does have the closing speed for this kind of match.
Right.
So they're going to hope to get a conclusion here one way or the other.
Yeah, we look at the lands deck. One of the reasons to play lands is it tends to be good against fair decks. Now, one of the issues is with Delver matchups is the more cards like Stifle, Deathrite Shaman, and Wasteland they have, the trickier it gets for the lands player.
Yeah, Deathrite Shaman, really the big one. You kind of have to Punishing Fire that one every time.
It is interesting with Deathrite Shaman becoming so big in Legacy, you'd think that would be a tax on the lands deck, but we still see it as week in, week out, one of the top choices in Legacy.
Lands has a good amount of answers, and you don't have to put the Life from the Loam in your graveyard with any kind of immediacy. You have redundancy on most of your lands that matter. So you get time to set up Punishing Fire. Out of the sideboard, they have Drop of Honey, everyone's favorite Legends card.
Yeah. Now, Grixis Delver does not, as far as Wasteland Days and Stifle are concerned, it's not all 12, typically.
A lot of builds of Grixis Delver don't have Stifle. Until we see the deck list, it's on its way now. I can't tell you if there's any Stifles in this deck.
Yeah, it looks like 1 Stifle.
Well, that number's odd.
I was going to play the one of Divert, but then switched it over to Stifle.
Must not have had that one at the dealer booth.
But he does have 4 days, 4 Wastelands, so weapons there. Look, what I want to ask, though, is what does Grixis have in its sideboard for additional ways to disrupt the lands locks?
2 copies of Leyline of the Void. Those can be pretty nice. 2 copies of Price of Progress. That's unusual for the Grixis build at Delver.
Yeah, if I was in Jody's spot, I wouldn't have expected that, but I definitely could see him losing a game to it.
Yeah, that does a boatload of damage. It's also a Sulfuric Vortex in the sideboard. When you expect that all of your creatures will be killed, and the lands deck does a good job of that, just having a non-creature source of damage is significant.
Any copies of Surgical Extraction?
None of those. Yeah, going for 2 ley lines over that.
All right, on Jody Keith's side, a pretty standard sideboard. Lands decks don't have that much diversity out of the board. Surgical Extraction, Crucible of Worlds, Drop of Honey, Bazooka Bog, Tireless Tracker, Sphere of Resistance, and Krosan Grip.
The Drop of Honeys are pretty strong here.
Right.
Can kill all the creatures. Yeah, on the play, it makes some sense to go for the Sphere of Resistance just to slow them down. Though you won't see that every time. Yeah, that's really not the matchup that's for. Most commonly, it's going to be against combo decks.
All right, so game number 3 will put Jody Keith on the play. Seen some lands players already today. Daryl Ayers winning last round over Mono Red Sneak Attack. A result we really didn't expect.
This lands deck is really good.
Yeah, a lot of our top teams choosing lands for the Legacy seat. You have Daryl Ayers, Jody Keith, and Kevin King all playing lands out of the Legacy spot.
As lands has picked up a few cards over the past couple of years, it's really kind of erased these 10-90 matchups. It's got a lot more percentages, and part of that is just that it can combo fast now.
Yeah, the stompy matchups are still harder. The devoted combo decks, your Storms, your Mono Reds. Your Goblin Charbelchers.
Right.
But you're
Lands
right.
beating Belchers is kind of unreal like that.
They have to just turn one Pithing Needle a Belcher and hope that was the finisher the guy had. It's things like that.
Hope that they empty and you have Tabernacle.
Yeah. So turn one Exploration from Jody Keith resolves, no Force of Will. Mike Warren will start on a Delver of Secrets off Volcanic Island.
Jody with a Ghost Quarter there. No basic lands in this build of Grixis Delver, and really every build of Legacy Grixis Delver.
Right, so that's one of the dangerous parts of being on the draw against lands, is they can just keep you off balance for the whole game, meaning you don't get to play. It just takes something like Life from the Loam Ghost Quarter here to knock it out of the park. Mox Diamond discards Dark Depths, and then Jody plays Dark Depths. 2 land cards left in hand. We really need to see if one of them is Life from the Loam.
It's like
Gamble.
Gamble's pretty easy to convert into Life from the Loam.
It's basically Life from the Loam. And there was some sequencing that was interesting here, which I like from Jody. He actually emptied his hand and then gambled. A lot of times you see players do the opposite depending on what they're looking for.
If you can just discard the life, I mean, it's not terribly different from casting it. You get the Dredge. There's nothing to get back just yet, so you kind of save 2 mana there. Wants to activate the Ghost Quarter on this turn, most likely.
Yeah, if he gets Loam in his hand, do you think we see Jody cast it or Ghost Quarter his opponent?
There's a strong argument for Ghost Quartering. You know, we'll burn that bridge when we get there.
Okay.
Really depends what the other card in hand is as well.
Might be another Ghost Quarter. That makes it very easy.
Hard to resist just aggressively quartering when you got them.
If Mike has Force of Will, this gamble would be the spot.
Yes. There would be no reason to let that one resolve.
And that last card is Ghost Quarter. So we're looking for Surgical Extraction, which he said he doesn't have. Does he have some graveyard hate if Jody starts looping this Loam?
Still just Leyline of the Void. That one costs 4. Can't cast that one.
Mike may never get off the ground here.
Can assemble Deathrite Shaman in theory.
Okay. Well, he won't ever have the land for it.
That's kind of the problem.
Yeah. I mean, Exploration Loam and 2 Ghost Quarters is really bad news. So Loam was the card hit. And yeah, Jody will go ahead and Ghost Quarter away Mike's land. Delver does not flip. Attacks for 1. And Mike's... Does he have a way to ever get to more than 1 land at this point?
The Delver deck?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get Ghost Quartered every turn.
And that's just what's going to happen. He can play fetch lands and force Jody to be able to target them multiple times.
Okay. And eventually Jody will be able to do that, but not yet.
Yeah, he'll need access to another Wasteland or Ghost Quarter to be able to do that.
He dredges Life from the Loam. He's going to buy back Maze of Ith, Dark Depths, and Ghost Quarter.
And we'll see. Jody does have the option to just Ghost Quarter the Wasteland and then play Maze of Ith to make sure he won't take any damage on this turn. He doesn't really even have to. This Delver's not threatening to actually win the game.
He Ghost Quarters the Wasteland. Sure, it's a 2-for-1 on himself. You see he loses his Dark Depths.
Against his Life from the Loam exploration package.
That's fine.
It's just value that doesn't matter.
And I'll play Maze of Ith. Stifle. That's what Delver will flip off of. That card does interact with Ghost Quarter for 1 turn.
In a lot of games against lands, Stifle does kind of a lightning bolt impression. You stifle Maze of Ith, connect with your Insectile Aberration. Warren's too far behind. He's not going to be able to win this game.
I mean, sure, that's a Lava Spike, and then now he needs 6 more. And this Stifle's a 1-of. He could stifle the Ghost Quarter here, which is probably what he'll do, is seek Jody dredging over both his drops of honey.
Must not have been a factor in the second game. Warren giving it a read there.
Three lands bought back from Keith. And he'll just keep playing 5 minutes in the round. Jody, a pretty experienced pilot here. He should, I can't see that being a problem. Plays 2 Ghost Quarters and quarters his Mike's land away.
And since he knows about the stifle, he goes for the quarter on Warren's upkeep.
That's really nice. Mike's gonna just lightning bolt Jody.
The stifle was already a long shot.
Yeah, draws for turn.
Flooded Strand for Warren, but Jody does have double Ghost Quarter now. So if he wants, he can just go ahead and destroy that and the land it finds.
And you see, he's going to continue casting Loam. Gets back another Ghost Quarter from the yard.
Until he finds Thespian Stage, there's no compelling reason not to just continue to Ghost Quarter.
You see, before casting Loam, he's going to go ahead and target the Flooded Strand, which Mike will use to find another one. This way his Loam gets back all 3 Ghost Quarters. And this is the 3rd Volcanic Island that Mike Warren has gotten. So when Jody Ghost Quarters that, there will be no Volcanic Islands left in his deck, which means no red mana.
Spell Pierce did hit the life from the Loam here, so Warren gets a land for his turn. But there's really not much you can do with it.
I mean, how many Spell Pierces does he have? Can he? How many turns in a row can he counter the Loam?
Well, there's 2 Spell Pierces in the main deck. There's no additional in the sideboard. The other thing is he still has to answer the Mazavith to make that even matter.
Have to draw Wasteland. His Stifles are live right now.
His Stifle?
Or not Stifle, his Dazes. His Dazes are live. Jody does not have a 3rd mana producer in play. He'll try for Loam again on the Ghost Quarters. Is there a Daze? No. Well, that was really his last window, and this time it got back Ghost Quarter, Thespian Stage. Seems fine here for Jody Keith.
Yep. And that was his last window for a small margin, you know, not even for a big game-breaking play.
2 quarters from Jody. He'll get rid of the Volcanic Island. No more red mana in Mike's deck. Outside of Deathrite Shaman.
And now that the Thespian Stage has been found, there's just too much ground to make up. You know, Warren, he can't deal 16 damage dealing with 1 mana or 2 mana over 2 or 3 turns.
Jody will have to close quickly, though. 2 minutes remaining in the round.
Another spot where that Dark Depths Thespian Stage interaction comes in handy.
Yeah, without that in the deck, you certainly would not be able to win from here.
No, when you had to do it with Mishra's Factory or Creeping Tar Pit, it was a lot harder. Barbarian Ring. It's another slow burn.
Ponder here from Warren.
Kept because it had a fetch land. He's going to be in this game at all. He has to produce some mana. Seems to be the reasoning there.
Well, he's really playing for a draw at this point. There's very little time on the clock. And it feels like the game is going to be more about Jody's speed. I mean, Mike has that stifle. Jody can't make the 2020 until that happens.
Well, gets stifled this turn and then does it again next turn.
Well, and then he has to attack another turn, and it looks like we're gonna hit turn 0 really quick here.
Note about how Stifle works against Dark Depths on 0 counters. If it gets to that, then the Dark Steps will just immediately trigger again. It just constantly checks if it has 0 counters, so Mike has to know that he has to stifle the Thespian stage to buy 1 turn.
Sure. And Thespian stage will copy Dark Depths. Jody going for a win here.
Warren moving like he knows it.
Well, he knows he's supposed to play the Stifle. We'll see if he targets the right thing. Rules are a little strange on this one.
It is an odd scenario. What Warren is doing is he's reading the card. The card, unless you have a pretty deep understanding of the rules, doesn't necessarily get you to this conclusion. What Warren should be doing is calling a judge. Unless he himself is a judge, maybe he is.
So yeah, when all the counters are gone from Dark Depths, then it'll trigger. You stifle the trigger, and it says okay. There's no counters on Dark Depths, then it triggers again. We are on Mike Warren's end step here, so this is going to be turn 0. Jody will have turns 1, 3, and 5. Mike will have turns 2 and 4. Yeah, waiting on a judge ruling then on this. Mike wants to make sure he knows the interaction. So he's going to stifle the Thespian stage trigger. So Jody's turn 1 here. So it looks to be fine in that on turn 1, Jody does nothing. On turn 3, Mike chump blocks with the Delver. And on turn 5, Mike takes 20. Because it looks like what Jody's lining up for.
Yep. No reason to do anything else. Jody's able to produce a punishing fire. Doesn't even have to worry about the blocking turn.
Yeah, plus a Grove.
If he just draws punishing fire, it kills the insect.
Yeah.
I don't know that he has enough mana to dredge Loam and then find Grove plus punishing fire. If the mana is available for that, certainly on the turn after he activates the Thespian stage, he'll have a bunch of mana he's not really using for anything.
And Jody just draws. He's going to try for Thespian stage again. Just make the 20/20 now. That seems fine. There's not an onboard way. Mike doesn't have anything like Diabolic Edict in his sideboard.
There are none in this particular build. You do see that in a lot of Grixis Delver sideboards. I suppose Jody figures both this is a match that is in time. He just has to win. Can't really afford to play around it. The other thing is he's destroyed so many of Warren's lands. The odds of there being a second mana source and a Diabolic Edict, it's just not going to happen.
Well, Mike's going to play out a Delver of Secrets, and he's looking to flip that and chump block to the draw. I'll cast Cataxian Probe. And Jody doesn't have an answer at the ready for that.
If he dredges over Grove Punishing Fire, he does have the mana to cast it.
Let's see. Dredges over Ghost Quarter Thespian stage.
That's not it.
Well, he could. Yeah, this could be drawn. He'll cast Loam.
There's no way for him to control 2 Merit Lages. That one is legendary.
Gets back some very nice lands. Yeah, we'll see. 20 swings in, Mike chump blocks. If his Delver flips, he looks like he might have the draw.
He needs his Delver to flip and Jody to miss on finding Punishing Fire next turn.
And at that point, something like Tabernacle doesn't even do it because there's no upkeep.
Right.
And Mike, does it flip? No. And that will be the match. So the team of Jody Keith, Todd Stevens, and Tom Ross, they win the match and the round. They improve to 6-0, staying at the top of the standings.
Yeah, a little bit of tension at the end there regarding the conclusion, but in an on-time round, Keith would have had that one easily.
Yeah.